as we saw before, if you were given two ordered pairs, you can find the slope of the line that those two ordered pairs lie on by using the formula slope, which we call m, equals y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2, or the change in the y's over the change in the x's. So let's try this next problem together. So let's let 3, negative 2 be our first ordered pair. So this is x1, y1, and then this ordered pair would be x2, y2. We're just going to use our formula and substitute negative 2 in the place of y1 minus 4 in the place of y2. Then we're going to substitute 3 in the place of x1 minus 6 in the place of x2. Change your subtraction to addition to deal with your integers. So what do you get for negative 2 plus negative 4? Negative 6, right? And what do you get for 3 plus negative 6? Negative 3. We need to simplify our slope, but always leave it in fraction form. So what would you get? We'd get 2, but we're going to write it as 2 over 1 because we always want to be able to identify how far up or down we go and how far sideways we go. So we need to have both of those numbers, both the numerator and denominator. So the slope of this line is 2, but we would write it as 2 over 1. Try these next 3 problems and let's see how you do. In number 2, I ended up with 7 over negative 12, which is just the slope of negative 7/12. Number 3, I ended up with 0 over 1. Now we can divide into 0, that's fine, and we get a slope of 0. You can have a slope of 0. We'll talk a little bit about what that actually looks like. So remember, slope, what we're finding here is how steep a line is, and this will make even more sense as we start working with the graphs. Number 4, you end up with 1 over 0. Well, you cannot divide by 0. That's impossible. Therefore, this is an impossible slope, but we actually have something we call the slope. This is the slope that we will work with. This type of slope is actually called an infinite slope. Use the infinite sign, or an undefined slope. You'll see it both ways. Undefined comes from the fact that we don't know what dividing by 0 means. It's undefined in mathematics. So remember that mathematics is just rules that man came up with to describe the world around us. And so it doesn't make sense for us to divide by 0. So we just call that undefined, or in this case an undefined slope or infinite slope. And I'll show you what that looks like. It's actually a specific graph. So the next thing we're going to do is to learn how to find 2 points on a line and then figure out the slope based on those 2 points. So when you do this, you want to make sure that you find a place where the line clearly crosses where 2 of these little tiny blue lines intersect, like right there. We wouldn't want to pick a line where the line crosses somewhere that's difficult to distinguish, like right here. It's kind of hard to tell where it is. So I want it to be somewhere that's easy to count, maybe here and up there. So let's find what these ordered pairs are. So this top ordered pair would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my x value is 7. And then 1, 2, 3, my y value is 3. For this other one, we have an x value of 0, because it's on the y-axis, it's the y-intercept, and the y value of 1, 2, 3, of negative 3. So if we are to check the slope using our slope formula, we would find we have 3 minus negative 3 in the numerator over 7 minus 0 in the denominator. So 3 plus 3 over 7 is 6/7. And so let's see if that holds true when we count between these 2 points. So when I'm counting between these 2 points, I'm going to go I'm going to start at this bottom one and go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and over 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that works. That is a slope of 6/7. And just to remind you, I could start at this top ordered pair and go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That would be -6, and then backwards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That would be -7. Both of those give us a positive slope of 6/7. So I've actually showed you a couple of ways to find your slope. You can figure out what your ordered pairs are and then use your formula like I did, or you can actually just count between two points that are very clear. But again, you want to make sure the points are very clear. Like in this example, maybe it looks kind of like this would be a point right here, but it's not. I can tell because my slope is 6/7 on the very clear points. So that means that I would not have been able to hit any points in between those two ordered pairs in this area and get whole numbers. So in this example, I want you to find two ordered pairs. I want you to find your slope both ways. I want you to find your slope the first way using your slope formula above. Okay, so use that. And then the other way is I want you to count to confirm. Count between 2 points and to find the rise over run. And both of these should give you the same slope. Go ahead and try that. I ended up with a negative slope of 7/2. So I showed it as both 7 over -2 as well as -7 over 2 on the graph. Find 2 points on this purple line and then figure out the slope. You should end up with a slope of 0. And hopefully this makes sense to you. Whenever you have a horizontal line, there's no slope to it. You can imagine, again, use the rollerblade idea. If you have a steep slope, you're going to rollerblade faster than if you have a less steep slope. Well, if you are on a flat surface, you're not going to move at all without pushing yourself because there's 0 slope or no slope here. So all horizontal lines have no slope. Find 2 points on the line and figure out the slope. So you should end up with some number being divided by 0, which is impossible. You can't divide by 0 in mathematics. So we call this an infinite slope or undefined slope. Again, let's think about the rollerblading example. If we have a steep slope, you go faster than if you have one that's not steep. You don't go at all if you have no slope, 0 slope, which is the same as no slope. But what about if you're on a vertical line? Well, that's completely impossible, right? It's impossible to rollerblade down a straight line. So think about the impossible situation as the undefined or infinite slope. Okay, so there's no way to go down something that's straight up and down. So this is our undefined slope, or where we divide by 0. So this brings us to our 4 types of slope. We have a positive slope. Positive slopes are always, think of them as always rising from left to right. They'll always go up like this, even though technically we have an arrow on the bottom as well. Negative slopes falls from left to right, so they always come down this way. Some bigger than the other, but they always come down that way. And one way that I can visualize my slope is think about a V. So if I imagine a V, here's my positive slope, and here's my negative slope. And I kind of imagine that there's a V right in the middle here. My positive slope is on the right side and my negative slope is on the left side, just like with your number line, how your positive numbers are on the right and your negative numbers are on the left. So that covers our positive slope and our negative slope. Then we've also discovered the zero slope. The zero slope is where you're on your rollerblades and you're not going to move at all. And that's when you have a slope of 0. And those are horizontal lines. Undefined slope is where it's even impossible to rollerblade at all because you have a vertical line. And that's where you have some number divided by 0, whereas a zero slope was 0 divided by some number. One thing I want to mention is that, regardless of which 2 points you pick on a line, you will always get the same slope. So let's say on this example where I came up with 4 divided by 0 for the infinite slope or undefined slope, maybe you picked some different points and you ended up with 2 divided by 0 or negative 6 divided by 0. Well, they all equal the same thing, right? So it doesn't matter which 2 points you pick on a line, you'll always get the same slope as long as you are finding points that are easy to determine, like you make sure it's where the 2 little grid lines intersect and that they're whole numbers.